Welcome back, everybody. So it's been a while since we've done our last top 10 list. We apologize. We just got incredibly busy over the last few months. So our focus became our Duelist Kingdom wave. But we definitely do intend to make lists and some of the more, content discussion videos a little bit more frequent, but they were definitely not scrapped. So this is going to be another top 10 list. I mean, we call it the top 10 list. There's really so many cards. So many cards we'd like to see predicted in the anime. We figure doing them in 10s, maybe in 15s, makes it easier to digest and just break it down a little bit. But before I start the list, I would like to introduce our first guest on the show. So, coming to us from the barren wastelands of Minnesota is actually an older member from the channel who we had not seen in a while since he moved there, but recently got back in touch with us because he got dial-up. So everyone, please give a humongous Yugioh Anime Games, formerly Team Carrot Cake, welcome to Conflictlix.
Hey, thanks, Blue. It's great to be back.
So you had your you had the list, right? Your copy of the list? Okay, good. Alright guys, so let's get this video started. So number 10, this is Dragonroid. So an interesting choice, Roid monster, and it goes along with Rebirth Judgment from our very first list. Both of these cards were very crucial in what is, has been one of our more requested decks. It's Cyrus's deck from the Season 4 Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, where he's combined some of his Roid monsters and the Cyberdark Dragons. So the problem with that deck is that it's two very different archetypes, but Rebirth Judgment and Dragonroid are what allow those two archetypes to pull together. Dragonroid is a machine wind that's 8 stars with a massive attack point that says, while this card is in the graveyard, it is treated as a dragon-type monster. It is literally set up to be pulled by Cyberdark Dragon to give it a major power boost. So this card and Rebirth Judgment combined from this list and the last list would be two cards that would really make the Cyberdark Void deck much more cohesive. That being said, it's a deck that we still announced we would attempt to build, but simplicity it will not be.
So speaking of Dragonroid, as a bonus, we've got Kiteroid before number 9. I wanted to point this monster out. It was used by Cyrus in Season 4, and before that, he used it to fly in the Dimension Duels in Season 3. It's basically the Roid version of Karibo. If you would take battle damage from a direct attack, you can discard it. And while it's in the graveyard, you can reduce the battle damage once per duel from a direct attack to 0. So it's also a powerful card for the Roid archetype. I think it would be cool to have in the game. Blue? Hello? Can you hear me? I think it's breaking up coming in there.
Hey! Glad you can be here.
Man, that's really warm in here.
Yeah. Well, in that case,
How come I don't get juice, man?
because it's my blue juice. I do have an extra copy of the list, though, so we can pick up right where we left off. So, ladies and gentlemen, picking up, this is number 9, Roll of Fate. So this is our first non-monster card. It is a spell card. You roll a 6-sided die and you draw cards equal to the result, and then remove an equal number of cards from the top of your deck. So actually, this will be a really useful card, not just in the anime, but also competitively, because you draw cards and then mill cards. You really do not get much better results than that. This card was, of course, despite being a dice card like Duke, this was actually a card from Joey, given the whole Roll of Fate. Joey's deck strategy was always based around luck. So just the card that Joey had, we saw it Waking the Dragons, and it did return in Grand Championship.
And we got number 8, Diamond Head Dragon. And this was a fan favorite. We requested it several times. It was played by Rebecca in the Waking the Dragons arc. It was a 0 attack, 28 defense monster It can't be normal or special summoned except by Adamantine Sword Revival. This card's attack becomes equal to the attack of the attributed dragon plus 1,000.
Yeah, that'd be another really cool card to have because, I mean, we really like the Rebecca deck that we have. It's a very strong deck.
Yeah, it's definitely one of her key cards, and it's in one of my favorite arcs, very popular with the fans, so I think that a lot of people would agree with us here.
Moving on to number 7. This is one of my definite favorite cards. Comes from a really epic moment, but not from the anime. Coming from Yu-Gi-Oh! The first movie, this is Reverse of Reverse. This is an incredibly powerful trap card that has quite a high stipulation that it can only be activated while you have no cards in your hand, and it is the only card you control on the field. You are allowed to activate your opponent's face-down spell and or trap cards as if they were your own. This is the card that Yugi ultimately uses to take Kaiba's return from the different dimension to resume the god monsters that were banished from Pyramid of Light, and once and for all defeat Anubis. So it's, again, really high cost, but potentially incredibly powerful card. Anything to add?
Yep, bouncing off of that, we've got number 6, also from the Pyramid of Light movie, Obligatory Summon, which Kaiba used in tandem with Pyramid of Light in the duel against Yugi. You choose one of your opponent's monsters, and they have to summon as many monsters as possible from their deck that's the same type as that monster. So Kaiba chose Divine Beast, and Yugi was forced to summon out all the god cards before Kaiba killed them with Pyramid of Light. There's some pro strats.
It's a really good, one-hit, 1-2 combo.
Killed all the god cards at once, really sent a message.
Yeah. So, moving on, number 5 is Time Fusion. This is a card that was actually coming now from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. This is a card that Zane pulled out against Jaden. It is a spell that allows you to remove from play one card from your hand and select one fusion monster in your fusion deck. During your next standby phase, special summon that fusion monster, ignoring its summoning conditions, but that monster cannot attack the turn it is summoned. So it is another one of Zane's powerful cards that lets him summon his really strong Cyber Dragon fusions, but this one does have a one-turn hold on it for what is a very, very light cost.
That'd be a fun card to play too. So number 4, we got Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, which was a card played by Kaiba in the Waking the Dragons arc against Alistair to defeat him. It is summoned by removing from play Tyrant Burst Dragon and Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now, of course, we need Tyrant Burst Dragon for this to work, but this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls and has 3,400 attack, so it was a big boy.
Again, it was an unfortunate card that never made it into print with the rest of the monsters from Waking the Dragons, the fusions from the legendary Dragon monsters.
And with all the Blue Eyes support we got, I think it's one of the few cards left from the Blue Eyes set that we haven't gotten.
Coming in number 3, another favorite of mine, this is Bond Between Teacher and Student. So, a very simple card. If you control Dark Magician, special summon Dark Magician Girl from your deck in defensive position. So, it is the reverse of Sage's Stone, which allows you to summon a Dark Magician via Dark Magician Girl. So, I'm really not sure why we don't have that card, considering that there's a lot less ways to special summon Dark Magician Girl than there are Dark Magician by name. And although Sage's Stone is cool, I personally actually like the art and the name better of Bond Between Teacher and Student. And again, that goes to the basis of Dark Magician Girl coming from the sorcerer and his apprentice from ancient Egypt, the 5,000 years ago when Atem originally ruled. His good best friend was the sorcerer who went on to become the incarnate for Dark Magician, and then his apprentice became Dark Magician Girl. The name itself does have that relationship there that isn't present actually much in any other card lore.
And not only that, but this deck would be great for playing fun and competitive Dark Magician decks. Coming in at number 2 is another fan favorite, Duke Devlin's Orgoth the Relentless. He played this in the Virtual World arc, and its effect is if Dice Dungeon is face up on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand with Dimension Dice, which I don't know if we'll get the effect, but other than that, it's a 2450 beat stick. Be a good monster to have.
Yeah, it's something that, a lot of fans seem like they really wanted to see. We wanted to see it. And when we built Duke's deck, we did substitute with Buster Blader. Even though it's a very different effect, I mean, there was a little bit of similarity we felt in like the color scheme of the armor, the sword, the stats are similar. I mean, we're really not trying to pass off Buster Blader as Orgoth, but we felt it was a satisfying substitute.
It'd be nice to have the real thing.
So, given that has been our 9 cards, the last card is a card that we skipped on the first list because I felt it was too easy and something I wanted to do later. So coming in at number 1 is the most OP card to ever really make an appearance, the Golden Castle of Stromberg. So this card makes its appearance in the Kaiba Corp Grand Championship. It is played by Leon, although it's known that this is actually an illegal card. This card has a list of effects that read like the warning label on a medicine bottle. During each of your standby phases, send half the cards in your deck to the graveyard if you cannot destroy this card. I'm going to skip some lines and say that at the end, this card states that your opponent must pay that maintenance cost. Additionally, once per turn during your main phase 1, you can special summon a random level 4 or lower monster from your deck in face attack position, so it does give you some more summoning strength. All monsters special summoned by this card's effect and all monsters your opponent controls must attack if able. So we're seeing a bit of an effect that's not too dissimilar from the card Final Attack Orders, but the anime version. Moving on is that when an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy that monster and inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's attack. The last effect is that this card cannot be destroyed by the effects of other spell cards, traps, or effect monsters. This card is literally almost indestructible, to the point where Yugi really only beat it because, again, scripting. So this card was illegal for obvious reasons, and were it ever to be printed in the TCG, it would either be heavily errata, or more likely, it would just say, this card cannot be used in actual duel. So
yeah, they sure like to do that with those anime cards.
Yeah. Now, I want to quickly pull back on the whole Golden Castle Stromberg, and touch on the fact that while the original card was incredibly powerful, it had been modified or hacked by Siegfried in his desperate attempt to defeat Yugi and reclaim the title that he in his little world he thought he had. So most of the effects seem to be confirmed through means such as Leon or Yugi's grandfather, and when Yugi's grandfather refers to the maintenance cost of the card. So the setting half of the deck is probably accurate. It's really towards the end with the cannot be destroyed and the opponent pays the cost, which are the likely manipulated effects. So of course though, despite the fact that the card wasn't truly part of Leon's deck, whereas added more to help him defeat Yugi, the Golden Castle Stromberg does appear in The Raven, which comes from Grimm's Fairy Tales. And one more thing I want to know on quickly is that, as mentioned by Crowler later in GX, that Infernal Vania is, along with Golden Castle Stromberg, the anime illegal field spell cards. So, Golden Castle Stromberg is not entirely alone in its class of banned spell cards. We do see one come into play much later on. I do also want to take the moment to touch on that while Golden Castle Stromberg is outright a banned card, Toon World is mentioned in the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! That it was too powerful to be released to the public. However, they don't note it being banned. It was just too strong to be made publicly available. So there's an interesting contrast. So it's kind of cool to see the varying levels, even in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, for how they hold cards, as opposed to, of course, our ban lists in the actual OCG and TCG card games. That concludes our top 10 list this time. And again, that Golden Castle was a card I would like to have done but I wanted to wait because, again, it's just too easy, it's too obvious, the super powerful Golden Castle Stromberg. So definitely stay tuned for more lists. We will be trying to bring these back more regularly. Also, definitely a shout out to Flicklegs for his return.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Yugioh Anime Games out.